And our last news story of the day, there is a gun grab from the House of Representatives passing a bill banning certain automatic guns. This is such a dereliction of duty. You literally gave an oath that you would protect the Constitution, and now you're going against the very things that are in the Constitution. And most importantly, the Bill of Rights, hell, our Second Amendment that protects our freedom of speech, now they're targeting. The House of Representatives voted largely along partisan lines Friday to pass a ban on certain semi-automatic firearms, though the bill is not expected to make it through the Senate, thank God. The bill, entitled the Assault Weapons Ban of 2022, was passed by a vote of 217 to 213 and is intended to ensure that the right to keep and bear arms is not unlimited. The bill would reinstate the assault weapons ban that was placed in 1994 to 2004 and prohibit the sale of manufacture of certain rifles, including the AR-15s, shotguns, pistols, based on features that they have. Jerry Nadler was questioned on this. He's the chairman of one of the committees. And somebody asked him and said, you're going to be banning common use weapons. And he said, yes, that is the purpose of the bill, is to ban common use weapons, which there is a Supreme Court case that literally said the AR-15 and other common use weapons, actually two Supreme Court cases, that you can't do that. You can't remove a common use weapons from the hands of the American people, that they have a right to ultimately bear arms. And some people are saying, well, you removed a woman's right to abortion. You removed a woman's right to privacy and all these things. Well, first of all, a woman's right to abortion and the zone of privacy / right to privacy to married couples in order to get contraceptives that led into Griswold v. Connecticut, that led into Roe v. Wade, never existed in the first place. As we've said numerous amount of times, for those that are frequent viewers of the Bald Brad Show, the Supreme Court justices literally made up those rights. They said from the emanations of the Bill of Rights, created penumbras, shadows that you can find basically new rights within. And so that's the difference, is that there was already a right in place that you cannot infringe on somebody's right to bear arms, and they're actively infringing on the right to bear arms, whereas the justices basically removed something that was never there in the first place. Speaking about Roe v. Wade. So there's the contradiction between what the left are saying in comparison to what they're trying to say in regards to this of like, well, you moved our rights, we're going to remove something of your rights. Well, you can't do that. Again, it's going to, even if it passed in the Senate, it'd get obliterated in the Supreme Court. And look, if it didn't get obliterated, wow, I can't even speak, obliterate. I sound like Joe Biden, folks. If it doesn't get obliterated in the Supreme Court, I mean, you're going to see an uproar that you've never seen before here in this country. So of course, as you'd imagine, a ton of Democrats hopped on the bandwagon, as well as a few Republicans. I mean, these Republicans need to be ousted, folks. And as you can imagine, they're coming from New York. Okay, so that tells you what you need to say. One of them's Chris Jacobs. He needs to be gone. You also have Representative Brian Fitzpatrick. He needs to be gone as well. So if you live in New York or I think Pennsylvania as well, there you go. Oust those guys. They don't need to be working for you. Today, House Democrats acted by unifying to pass an assault weapons ban to keep weapons of war off our streets, save lives in this country, and reduce crime in our communities. The majority of the American people agree with this common sense action. No, they don't. No, they don't. By the way, that was a statement from Biden, so obviously he doesn't have a clue. The bill is unlikely to pass the Senate since it would require the support of 10 Republican senators to get past their filibuster. And look, those Republicans know if they voted for this thing that they're out. They're never going to see the light of day in terms of working in Congress ever again. Many House Republicans called the bill an attempt to crack down on the Second Amendment. Yes, 100%. And here are the Supreme Court cases that I was mentioning before. This is the first time in American history, I believe, that a chamber of Congress will pass a bill openly defying the Supreme Court's explicit declaration of the rights of the American people on the House floor, pointing to Supreme Court rulings such as D.C. v. Heller, which held that American citizens have the right to own firearms under the Constitution. The Democrats don't believe that. This is the reason why this is so important, and it's honestly, it's quite scary, is one, like I said, you have these officials that are supposed to uphold the Constitution, and they're not doing it. And second, they want to actively remove your guns. They want to chisel away at it. They might not get all of them right now, but they're actively trying to remove a little bit, which is limiting, right? I mean, literally, they are going against the word infringement. And for some reason, honest to God, I don't understand why Democrats can't understand this, that you are not able to infringe by chiseling away at the weapons that we're allowed to utilize. And I even go a step further. I am so pro Second Amendment. I think you should be able to own whatever damn weapon you want. That's where I'm at on it. So I'm actually a lot further to the right than I would say a lot of conservatives, Republicans are. I think you should be able to own automatic rifles. I'm okay with that. I mean, the whole purpose of literally an automatic rifle was invented, yes, to kill human beings. But if we're supposed to go against a tyrannical government that would ultimately be using human beings to fight against, I would like to be powered by a machine that is capable of killing those that are trying to kill me. So that's where I'm at with that. But Democrats don't understand that word limiting. And it's scary, like I said, because at some point you might not have any guns because they'll slowly chisel away as time goes on. Yeah, they might remove maybe a Smith & Wesson, whatever handgun might come next. Maybe revolvers. Maybe we're looking at the Glocks, removing certain firearms. Once those are gone and you can't manufacture those anymore because maybe they'll put in some regulations or they'll just sit there and put in certain violations and fees upon these firearms where basically drive you out of business. Very similar to the COVID-19. If you had businesses that had a certain amount of employees that did a certain amount of something in terms of COVID-19, you'd receive a certain penalty of like $100,000 per violation. It would just run you out of business. And we could see that type of thing happening with firearms as well, to the point where now you have that. Sooner or later, they're just going to start banning the other ones that weren't on the list, and then you're screwed there. And now you got no firearms. And now, we lead into what we've seen in past history, where if you have a tyrannical government, either that's foreign or domestic, how are you going to be able to protect yourself? So this is one of the wildest things that I've ever seen, where you got Congress actively trying to remove your guns. It's so baffling to me that Democrats are on board with this. I mean, it just shows you how far left they've gone, honest to God. We got Jim Jordan, one of the last few American patriots in Congress, said that if signed into law, the legislation would ban millions of guns that Americans already own. While Representative Chip Roy pointed to border crisis as one of the reasons why Americans need to stay armed. Quote, we shouldn't be talking about disarming the American people when it is my colleagues on the other side of the aisle that are leaving the American people exposed to dangerous cartels and dangerous narcotics flying into our communities, and dangerous criminal gang members and criminals that are coming in and harming the American people, including people that are affiliated with terrorist countries and organizations. Democrats don't care, Chip. Democrats don't care. If they cared, they would have solved this border issue a while ago, a long time ago, 18 months ago. They don't care about the American people. They want to disarm them so they can gain more power, implement more policies, more regulations, more overreach upon the American public, and slowly bring them down while the elites continue to grow in power. That's what they want. They don't want the American people to have the power. They think they know best for us. The Democrat Party thinks they know best for us. And the reason why I'm highlighting the Democrat Party is because, yes, there are some Republicans that think they know better and they want that power grab. But in a nutshell, conservatives want limited government. We want smaller government. We want the power to be hands of the American people. We want the power to be in the hands of the localities where people can actually have a difference where they live, rather than giving everything to the federal government and then giving everything to the state. So we need to keep it on a locality level amongst the American people, not these knuckleheads in the Democrat Party that clearly want to do a shellacking on the American Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, our freedoms and liberties that we have, our God-given rights to bear arms. I mean, there is such a power grab here from the Democrat Party. It is ridiculous. You also have somebody, a representative from Pennsylvania, Guy Reschlacher, and I'm definitely butchering his last name, said this is a gun grab at the end of the day, and that's what it is. I mean, you're going to have freaking officials, government officials showing up on your front doorstep demanding that you give and hand over your firearms. You also had last month, Biden signed the most expansive gun control legislation in decades following support from Republicans in the House and the Senate. So whenever you have these mass shootings come up, whenever you have a lot of crime taking place, what they want to do is remove the guns and the firearms from law-abiding citizens that statistically don't virtually ever create crime. I'm saying virtually ever. There are some of those that are firearm owners that do commit crimes, obviously, but nowhere near those that obtain them legally, or those that obtain them illegally and commit crime with those firearms. It's so disproportionate. It is mind-boggling. But that's what they want to do. Take the guns away from law-abiding citizens and just say, hey, a lot of the criminals have the guns. Who cares? And they'll say, well, we're not for that. We'll apprehend them when a crime is committed. Yes, that is the problem, you idiots. Not you watching, obviously, the Democrats that say this stuff of like, you're going to take away the gun after the crime has been committed. So that person that was just shot and killed because you took away their right to bear arms was killed by somebody else that, in a nutshell, you gave them the right to bear arms because they are going to attain it illegally, killed the guy that you took the rights from, but you'll make sure to get the gun after. And people go, well, where the hell are you pulling this from? This seems crazy, Brad. You seem like you've lost it now, man. That's not really happening. No, it is happening. It happened under the Obama administration with Fast and Furious case, where literally you had the ATF handing over guns, and the only way that they were going to get them back was once a crime was committed, and basically either the guy was apprehended or the gun was just left behind. And they could track it ultimately to the sales from Fast and Furious case, from the ATF. Was it alcohol? Was it trade in firearms or something like that? Tobacco and firearms, tobacco, firearm, or whatever. It's just like, it's an old case. Back in Obama, Eric Holder was a part of it. There's a whole debacle with it. It's unbelievable of what our government is willing to come up with by handing over firearms to the cartels and other criminals at the end of the day. But, hey, this is their whole plan. We're supposed to trust all these people to not only bring us the facts, that's a quote from Karine Jean-Pierre, but also, hey, trust them with our rights. Get out of here with that, as they sit there and try to basically do a gun grab in the House of Representatives. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.